Oh, there it is. Hey, Kevin, how are you, buddy?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's spring. Spring has sprung.
Yeah, isn't it wonderful?
Yeah. Yeah.
The ticks are out. The birds are singing.
The birds are singing. The ticks are biting. It's lovely. Lovely. Elon Musk bought Twitter, though. It's ruining me. It's ruining me. I live in dread now.
What will you use now?
I know, exactly. It's all gone. Hello, Miss Carter.
Hi.
Hello, Miss Price. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Hanging in there. Nico is, hey, Liz, how are you?
Hi.
Nico has decided that he's going to become a Badger and go to the
Really?
University of Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, go him.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it's supposedly an excellent school. We had a great time. You know, we were out last weekend to Chicago and Madison, and it was just it's a, you know, everybody we encounter was wonderful. The programs there are wonderful. The campus is gorgeous. The setting is amazing. It's the Midwest. Everyone's nice. There's
Right.
cheese curds.
Yeah, I have a good friend who went to school there a long time ago, but he loved it.
Yeah.
Thought it was great. He's a journalist.
Oh. Yes, Miss Minova. What's happening? Hey. Yeah. Okay. All right, my dear. Bye. Sorry, Natalia's at her mom's. There's no internet, so she's trying to call in, but she's having difficulty. So yeah, this is, I mean, it was sending my first one off, so it's just exciting. It's like reliving college days. You know, I'm excited for them. It's like I want to go.
Well, that's fun.
They would eat me alive, but I want to go.
Well, congratulations. That's quite exciting.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
What I missed, Dave? What are you doing?
Nico is committed to University of Wisconsin.
Nice. He's a Badger.
He's a Badger. that badge.
Nice.
Rare. I don't know if are they claws or teeth badgers? I think both, right? Both.
I think he's friends with Damien, right?
Yeah, who's going to Marquette.
Yeah.
So right down the road. It's about
Taking two.
not quite an hour and a half away.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great. Congratulations. The good football team too there.
Thank you. Yes, they do. Evidently, when they do this thing where they go jump around, they play jump around, and everybody obviously jumps around, and
They
they
turn their pants backwards.
they what?
Nothing.
And they can actually measure it on the Richter scale at the geological school.
Oh, jeez.
Allegedly. I don't know if that's really a salient point when you're seeking a higher education, but
Yes.
we'll take it. All right, I think we're all here. Is that you, Natalia?
Yes, that's me.
Fantastic.
I got in.
You got in. Okay, so I'll call the Salisbury Central School Board of Education regular meeting to order at 5:32 p.m. The first order of business this evening is approval of our minutes from our meeting on March 21st, which was a regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes as submitted? Thank you, Kevin. Do I have a second? Anybody? Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, and a tie. Any discussion, amendments? All those in favor of approving the minutes from our meeting of March 21st, 2022 as submitted, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Thank you very much. Ms. Bucieri, a financial report.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I don't have anything to report, nothing really outstanding to mention, but if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions about our shekels? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Sue. Any written communication to the Board of Ed besides okay, great. Any public comment this evening on any agenda items? Hearing none. Regional School and Board of Ed committee reports. Region 1 Board of Ed rep, Mr. Keith Moon, I don't believe is able to attend this evening. Lisa, is there anything high school related that you want to throw at us, or Scott?
Oh, gosh. That meeting
That's not in your report, I should say.
It was a million years ago. I think we might have approved a couple new hire for special education. I think they approved the budget. Public hearing is finished, and the board will vote to take it to referendum, which will be next Tuesday. And I think those are probably the most salient points of the meeting. I can't remember. I can't get to the agenda quickly enough. Sorry.
That's all right. No worries. Board of Ed building. Any questions for Lisa about the high school? Hearing none. I will say that the Building and Grounds Committee has nothing really major to report outside of the fact that out of capital funds, we purchased a new floor scrubber, which we were in need of. We have two, but one of them is a little dog-eared, and we've had to replace this piece, that piece, this piece, that piece, and it's only a matter of time before it just is prohibitive. So we're purchasing kind of a brand new one, and we'll hopefully rotate it like every 10 years. But Mr. Shippa, as you imagine, is quite excited, as is the entirety of the custodial staff, because it'll make their summer work, I think, a little bit more efficient. Other than that, there's nothing really major to report. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Steph.
Thinking, we haven't made any final decisions, but I thought because it is something that, might be out in the public, we are looking at places to relocate the extras room too.
Yes.
not, I mean, we'll want them in the school, of course, but we're thinking of trying to take that section and make it an early childhood wing, which would allow EK and K and pre-K to all be together, which would help us have some fluidity there, which we are looking for. So I've been working with David Hill and then back to Building and Grounds as to how we can accommodate their needs, keep them in the building, and yet also have that space that we want. So more to come on that, but just, I know Extras has been sharing with their board members about the possible move, so I wanted to make sure you knew.
Yeah, it's an exciting, I think, development. If we can make it work, exciting development for our early education. It's just kind of an idea that we started as a little seed and is now really kind of taking hold. And we always do a little bit of shuffling of classrooms, but this is, I won't call it a major one, but I think it's a major one for us to have that whole team down there in a little wing, working, and kids crossing the hallway to go get enrichment or to get support. It's just, I think it's a fantastic idea that, I have one other thing, is that we did engage Chris Crane to handle the sewage line that's coming out of that K through the pre-K and K wing, so that the front of our building that's going to be dug up will hopefully be put back in good repair, knowing Chris's work. So that's the only other Building and Grounds thing I've got. Any questions?
So I have a question. So I thought this extra was already in the pre-K wing. No,
They are. So
that's
we're
wrong?
we're attempting to find an alternate space for them that would again give them access to outdoor space, to parental pickup after hours and drop off before hours. So it's a little tricky that way. You can't just be any room. Trying to kind of accommodate their needs and mirror the advantages that they had being where they were, while at the same time reclaiming that real estate for our early education. That accurate? Seth?
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
They are taking the room from that wing now.
Right.
They will be in some other place. Got it.
So we're trying to
Okay.
find them an alternate site within the building. Because they're the service that they provide is essential to our community. I mean, I can't imagine us operating without what they do for us. So obviously it's a priority, but I think that the upgrade that if we're able to find a suitable accommodation for them somewhere else in the building, the upgrade that we get in our early education is significant. So
Got it.
yeah. Any other questions? Hearing none. ABC committee update, not much to report. We are not meeting actually this Wednesday because we just don't have any business to do. We were able to come to terms with our superintendent of schools, and she has graciously agreed to lead us for at least another year or two. And that's it. I don't really have it. I don't think there was any other business that we did besides negotiating your compensation for the next year. Any questions about ABC?
Yes, I have a question. What do you mean? I thought the contract would be for 3 years for superintendent.
The contract is, but we negotiate annually the compensation for the upcoming year. And
Okay.
the terms of the contract, we will deal with. The extensions of the contract we deal with, sometimes concurrently and sometimes separately. We didn't touch on the length of the contract at this point, but we will soon.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an unusual arrangement that we started out with Lisa, because we were trying to cover a year and a half of her leading us to get us back onto, because she was taking over midway through a school year. We wanted to get her on. We wanted to get the contract to be on a July to June calendar. So we had to make special arrangements, or unusual arrangements, I should say, outside of it. Any other questions? Hearing none, we have some staff non-resident attendance requests. Stephanie, do you want to lead us through all these and then we can discuss it once you've kind of laid it all out for us?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Let's pull my chart. Okay, so we have 9 requests.
Ooh.
I'll talk about the first 3 because we already spoke about them. So we had Sarah Freund, a 2nd grade teacher, who requested for her 2 children, twins, to attend in kindergarten. And also we had Sarah Lawler, who was requesting for her daughter to also be in kindergarten. And you might remember that at the time I didn't have the information from kindergarten registration. And so I didn't want us to make a decision on that yet, but we have had our registration both in-house and outside, and we have made lists that factor, assuming that they would be joining us, and it will be fine number-wise. So I wanted to mention those first. So 3 going into kindergarten. Then Sarah Freund also requests for her daughter, Avina, who would then be going into 3rd grade. She would be a continuing student. Let's see, we have other returned students would be the Nelson boys. He writes, I'm writing to request permission for Robbie and Ethan to attend Salisbury Central in 8th and 5th grade. Attending Salisbury has been a wonderful experience for them and has allowed me great flexibility in attending school activities and continuing to provide my students with morning rehearsals and after school help sessions. My wife and I would love for both boys to have the opportunity to continue to benefit from the wonderful environment and programs at Salisbury Central. Thank you for your consideration of this matter. Then we have another continuation would be Ryan Russo. His mom is a para in kindergarten. He would be going into 3rd grade. Ryan attended Salisbury Central for kindergarten and for 2nd grade and was only out during COVID. Another continuation would be Camilla Ramos, Ruth and Danny's daughter. She says, thank you for letting my daughter be a part of Salisbury Central School. Another request would be Jackson Major, parent Stephanie Major's principal, Salisbury Central. And she writes, it is wonderful to be at Salisbury Central School together. And then our new request is for it will be a 5th grader, Mia Dunleavy. Holly has been a para for us for 2 years. She writes, Mia currently attends Weebatuck Elementary School. Because it is in New York State, we are on different schedules. And after working at Salisbury Central School and in 2019 and in the current school year, I also feel that attending SCS would be an incredible opportunity for Mia. SCS is a special place. I thank you for your consideration. That should cover it. So what I can tell you is that the only grade level that I would have any numbers concern about would be the 5th grade, but I already have a plan similar to this year that will be able to provide us with extra sections. That has nothing to do with the addition of Mia. We're going to do that no matter what, because that class is a little bigger. So nothing here should require us to add any sections or teachers or staff. But I can answer other questions or specific questions.
Does anybody have any questions about any of the requests that are before us? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the requests as described by Ms. Major.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Kevin. And Liz. Any further discussion? Yeah, go ahead, Liz.
Can I ask you a question? I guess, I know we talked about this. I brought this up with the kindergarten ones, and I just wondered, as we're doing this, and maybe you've already talked about this, so forgive me, but is there ever talk about just allowing these kids to go here as long as their parents are working there? It seems every year this request comes through and every year it gets approved like this.
So our policy, I guess, or rules that we've set for ourselves, and I think in honoring the Salisbury taxpayer, is that we will do this as long as it doesn't incur, let's say we had to hire another certified staff to accommodate the class size that we would be creating by allowing non-resident children to attend. Now, we just in the last, I don't know, guys, remind me, like in the last 3 years, shifted our policy from just certified staff, in other words, just teachers' children, to be any employee of Salisbury Central School, which we felt was the equitable and right thing to do.
Yeah.
But it still comes to the board every year. It is at our discretion because it's basically we're playing with, with town money, with taxpayers' money that we're entrusted with. So we're trying to make sure that we're not just saying, I think that our intent, the intent of the policy is to allow every child of an employee to attend, again, within reason, as long as it's not incurring a tremendous financial burden to the town. So if we had to hire 4 teachers to accommodate all these kids, now we have to have a real conversation about it, because that's a significant increase in our budget and a significant burden to the town. We might vote even in light of that to go ahead with the attendance request, but it has to come before us so that we can kind of do that balancing act and do that math.
I also think, although I hear Liz's point that we hope we're not going to tell Mr. Nelson now after all these years that his kids aren't coming, but I think it's almost more important for the new staff. Like, we don't know who we're going to hire over the summer, and it's super important that we have the ability that's not just a given, because what if the person we hire happens to come with triplets that are in 5th grade? Well, that's already the grade that's big. And we would have to say, we might have to say no to that.
Yeah.
So if we ever get to a rewriting place, maybe it's something about, you're here and then you get to stay, but it's really important for new people so that doesn't become, we don't want that to be the reason we don't pick somebody as if they're the best candidate.
Right.
But that might be a reason why people wouldn't pick Salisbury Central if they were, I don't know. I don't know how it goes elsewhere. I apologize.
I know that we're one of the few, I don't know, Lisa would know this. Were we the only school that doesn't accept tuition? No.
North Canaan also does not accept tuition students.
And what about?
All the other elementary schools do.
So that's the other difference, is that we don't accept you if you'll pay whatever tuition we set. I guess, which is another way to go about it, but I think that really opens the floodgates, and I think we might be besieged by attendees, by students. So we're just trying to, do the right thing and be responsible at the same time. I think that's why we go through this little dance every year. And there have been a few times where it's gotten snug, where if 5 kids showed up that moved into the town, it might have blown up that balance. And knock on wood, we haven't been faced with it directly, so I don't know what this group or whoever comprises this group in the future would choose. But any other questions? All those in favor of approving the attendance requests as described by Ms. Majors, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Thank you very much. Just FYI, Tom Carter wrote and he's unable to attend tonight. Something came up, something happened, nothing terrible. Next is we have some recommendations to hire, Ms. Major.
Yes, we do. Is that Scott?
Can do that stuff, sure.
Okay. Right.
Do we just have one? It's Taylor for, there we go. So we are hoping that you will approve the hiring of Taylor Hurley for grade to be determined at this point, a lower primary grade position that Steph will determine as she works through her staffing, to start on the first day of school next year. Taylor's been working the last 2 years or 3 years at Cornwall Consolidated School and teaching first grade there at Cornwall Consolidated. She did a fantastic teaching interview, and her post-interview reflection was equally dynamite. She has fantastic recommendations from the principal at Cornwall Consolidated and others who have written for her. And so we would like to have the board approve her to start in the fall at step 4 of the master's schedule. She will have completed her master's degree by the fall, and that would be $57,956 for the year.
We should
Fantastic.
also add that she's a Huzi alum. She
We
was
should.
she was a student of mine. She's a phenomenal teacher. If you're ever been in her classroom, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
So we're tripling down on a local hire.
Yeah.
She's a Salisbury Central graduate also.
Yeah.
She and her
Quadruple.
brother.
Okay.
Can I ask just a quick question? Maybe
Yeah.
more recent, not about this candidate. I mean, I'm sure you guys did a great job vetting her. Just in general, when we hire teachers from other schools in Region 1, does that create any kind of like tension in the region, or is that just totally cool?
It's so far the principals have been very understanding about that because they want the teachers to be happy where they are. So, you know, to say, no, we're not going to consider you because we need you here doesn't really serve anyone very well, especially in those lower elementary grades. The labor market is pretty strong, and while you hate to lose someone that's been in your school and knows your routines and knows your families, at the same time, you don't want to keep somebody who's not happy either. And we know that we can get a strong candidate to replace them. So it's, you know, we learn to live with it. I can tell you Cornwall is very upset it's not upset, but they're sad, very sad to lose her. But the principal was extremely gracious, and she loves Taylor. And she said, I just want Taylor to grow and blossom and be everything that she can be as a teacher. So.
You know, Cornwall's still pissed at us for poaching Steph. So.
Yeah, now we've done another thing. Oh dear.
Ooh.
2 strikes.
I'm gonna get back from the south.
Any other questions or concerns about this suggestion to hire?
Lisa's right, because remember we lost Biz to Kent because she was from Kent. So Lisa's right. They go where they want to, especially the kids are from around here, they go where they want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
a
that
great
feeling.
point,
I know
Jen.
that also. So that's what I did. So same thing.
Any other questions or comments? Then I would certainly entertain a motion to approve this recommendation to hire Taylor Hurley for is yet to be determined 1st grade through 4th grade position. Thank you, Jackie. Do I have a second? Thank you, Liz. Any further discussion? All those in favor of this hire, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Scott and Stephanie and Lisa and Jill and Abstentia.
David, can I ask one quick question while we're on this topic? Do we,
Yep.
Stephanie, do we have other openings still that you're still?
Yes. Let's see. So that will cover one lower elementary position. We have middle school science to fill. We've started the process, but I would say we're not anywhere near completion. We have middle school English because Jen, and I can't remember if it's in this report or if it was in the last report, but Jen Segala is moving to the library media specialist position, which is super exciting for the whole school and less exciting for the middle school. But we have some great candidates that we're seeing this week. So that we have that to fill. So science, English, kindergarten, and we did some 1st round interviews for kindergarten today, and we'll plan to do teaching interviews soon. And then I just had written in this report that Kat Bucheri is being moved to a new position, which is my STEAM position. And so that will leave a 4th grade opening. And we will use our lower elementary candidate pool to try to fill that as well, which we had a nice, candidate pool for that, where Taylor came from. And I think that is all at this moment.
Any other
So
questions?
I think our hope would be to try to bring as many as we can for the May meeting.
Right. 1 month, kids, get at it. Any other questions? All right. Next is some policy work. These are, the first two are second reads. The first policy is policy number 5125.11, which is health and medical records. And I believe that, Sue, you've made some changes just to kind of tailor it to us as far as
Yeah,
who's responsible.
yeah, I just put Salisbury Central School in as the district, and then we put in the last sentence of that first paragraph that the SCS school nurse is the HIPAA privacy officer. Those were the only two changes we made from the first read.
Anybody have any concerns or questions about this policy as amended? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt this policy as amended. Thank you, Jackie. Do I have a second? Thank you, Barrett. Any further discussion about policy number 5125.11? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting policy number 5125.11, health and medical records as amended, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Thank you very much. Next second read is policy number 5144.4, physical exercise and discipline of students.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding right now. Please try a little later.
Alexa has joined the meeting.
Story of my life.
I know. Well, it's a good thing because I paid for that the Samuel Jackson voice, which curses.
Oh, no.
So I'm glad that she who shall not be named did not hear the name Samuel.
The only changes that were made to this one was the insertion of Salisbury as the Board of Education. We clarified after elementary school, pre-K 8, so there wouldn't be any confusion. And then on the second page, we took out superintendent of schools and put the principal is authorized to develop guidelines to implement this policy. And then we put in a note to see Board of Ed policy 6142.101 wellness for implementation guidelines, just as a reference to the specifics of what we do. And those are the only changes since the first read.
Great. Any concerns about the amendments in this policy? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt policy number 5144.4 as amended. Thank you, Barrett. Thank you, Liz. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adopting policy number 5144.4, physical exercise and discipline of students as amended, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Thank you very much. And now we move on to some first reads. And the first is policy number 5118.1, homeless students.
I did share with everybody, hopefully successfully, a folder that had the policies in it with the notes that Stephanie, Lisa, David, and I had made when we met and went over them. I thought that might be easier as we have discussion, because there were definitely some suggested changes to. So in the homeless students, the 5118.1, let's see. We considered taking out that optional language, points A through H. Let's see. And taking out the paragraph. Well, I don't know. Do we want to go through all of the different changes that we were considering, or?
Or do we maybe want to let people, or if they
Mhm.
already did, scan the changes and then just ask if there's one that they have a
Yeah,
question
see
about?
if they have questions.
Mhm.
And it's a first read, so they can have
Right.
some time to look at all of that too.
So I have a random question. I may just be having a brain freeze. Do we usually refer to us as the district?
Well, I usually in the initial paragraph or the first time that the district is referenced, something will be, I'll put in Salisbury Central School and then district in parentheses afterwards so that it can be district through the rest of the policy.
Yeah, it's often that we are the Salisbury Central School District.
Right.
You know,
And region 1 is also a district too, technically. or-
We have 7 school districts in Region
Yeah.
1.
Oh,
so-
yeah. Got it. Okay. Yeah. The district just sounded bigger than.
there was a typo on E, and it should be provided, I think, to other students. Transportation services must be comparable to those provided to other students. It was just other students.
Which letter?
E,
Letter E.
I made the change on the
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
note copy already, but
Okay. Well, if we
and
decide,
there's another opportunity there provided to other students on the bottom of the second page, number 4.
oh, okay,
Which, especially if we're taking out that optional language. I think.
right.
Any questions about this policy or concerns or suggestions?
One quick question. I'm
Yeah.
scanning. Is there a definition of homelessness in here? And I ask that because I think where we are, like what you would traditionally think is homeless is probably not as frequent given the weather, right? In the winter, we're not having. So homelessness, I think, is more, don't have a permanent home, temporary housing, shelters, that kind of thing. Do we need to expand that to make sure we're catching everybody who is in a situation that's not a stable home? In other words.
It is homeless students as defined by federal and state statutes residing within the district or residing in temporary shelters in the district.
I saw
doesn't-
that. It wasn't super clear to me.
Not super clear. I mean, we usually know because they don't have an address. So they don't have a residence. We've dealt with a number of these cases. And
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, Lee. I think my question more wasn't whether we know they would be homeless, whether we need to expand any protection in here to include people who may be in foster care, jumping from house to house, or temporary shelter. I haven't read it thoroughly enough to understand what it gives, if it gives additional protection to students. I was just wondering if it does, we may need to expand it past the traditional definition of homelessness, so it actually takes into account what we're more likely to have in this district given the weather, if that makes sense.
All right.
Maybe I just need to read it more closely and then ask that question.
I think that I understand your concern, but we do our due diligence in terms of where those families are living. And if they're living with a relative, because they are living with a relative, so they have access to the school district, that becomes pretty apparent. But if they're living with a relative because they have no means, we have the ability to do that investigation. But if it would satisfy the board to do a definition of homelessness, we can do that, but I would prefer for an attorney to do that for us. So we can make that addition.
I'm happy, since this is the first read, I'm happy just to read it offline and then circle back if.
Right.
if-
Yeah, my only note would be that by defining it, I think that there's advantages and disadvantages to being very specific about how we're defining homelessness, in that it obligates us in some instances, A, and B, it might exclude special circumstances in some cases.
When we have a homeless situation, first of all, McKinney-Vento, the law does define homelessness. And we either work with Ed Advance because they have a lot of expertise in this area. We work with Women's Support Services, or I work with an attorney. So we vet the family to really understand that they are truly homeless. And we've had a variety of circumstances of homelessness. We've seen it in all shapes and sizes. And I'm sad to say. And so I'm not worried about that, but as I said, I think if it makes the board feel better about the policy, it's certainly something that we can add.
If you've dealt with it, unfortunately, several times before, then that's fine with me. I was just assuming maybe we hadn't had to use this policy, but it's.
No, we have, yeah.
Okay, and that's if you guys have navigated this easily, or not easily, you know what I mean, without more words, then that's fine with me.
They're usually on, when a homeless family comes to us, they're usually on the radar of a number of either agencies or school districts. So they come with a lot of history, unless you're at the very beginning of it. But like I said, then we have resources to help us really understand what the circumstances are.
Great. Any other questions or concerns about this policy?
I would
Hearing-
just
Yeah, go ahead.
ask for some feedback on those areas of the policy where I've made notes that the language highlighted is not part of the Region 1 policy.
Mhm.
Should that language be kept in there? I think the Region 1 policy is fairly recent. But I know we're striving to have similar policies. So I wasn't sure how people felt about those different sections where the versions differ.
So I'm looking at the Google Doc and I'm not seeing any notes like that. Am I missing it somehow?
I shared a separate folder.
Yep. I'm in that now.
But the notes aren't, the
notes
notes
are here.
there,
Okay, let
Stu.
me share this one. Okay, I just shared it. Sorry, I think maybe the notes didn't transfer over when I moved them into the new folder.
Yeah, there they are.
Yep, so the Region 1 version is from 2019.
And correct me if I'm wrong, in other words, what we're cribbing off of is a policy that Region 1 instituted in 2019.
Well, it's the one you're looking at is the CABE sample policy.
But the thing that we're cribbing against is Region 1's 2019
Yes.
policy.
Yeah, correct.
We're assuming that they looked over that CABE policy and made these changes to it.
They chose not to adopt the optional language.
Got it.
I don't think the optional language changes the nature of this is all dictated by McKinney-Vento. So it just depends as a board how much information you want in your policy. So it doesn't make the policy significantly different, and I think it would be fine, whatever your preference is.
I mean, the optional language just seems to be, to me, a definition of what we would be doing probably anyway. Correct? I mean.
Yes, and it is helpful when you are dealing with this and this situation, it is helpful to have this.
That checklist.
And if we go back to the Region 1 board is doing an audit this year. So when we go back to, I'm sure we'll have to review this policy. I would recommend that they include the optional language.
Just to have that kind of, make sure you've done this, and this, yeah.
Right. You know, the transportation, you need to understand that there may be costs involved, and it just helps you as a building leader to understand a little bit more about the details of what's going on with the situation.
Right. All right, well, let's give everybody a chance to actually read it and weigh it a little bit with the understanding that it is optional language. Do we want it or not? Even though it sounds like Lisa's recommendation, I saw Steph nodding, was that we keep it. Any other comments about this policy?
I mean, there's a bunch of other highlighted sections of the policy that are language that is not in the Region 1 policy. So I don't know if we just keep it all in there or if we want to go through each section of highlighted language to see.
Sue, I would say that this is there because there's a greater incidence of these situations. As I said, sadly, that is the case. And because I think we want to be sure that we're providing the children with every protection that they should have available to them under the law. But we also need to understand if they're coming from another school district, what the rights of our district is, that we should go with. This is like the gold standard K policy, that we should keep this one, and that we should tailor the other policies in the region to look more complete like this one. That would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see anything in that highlighted language, Sue, that is ill-placed, I guess. You know, it just seems like it's certainly going out of its way to guide us in what and how to deal with a circumstance.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of the differences between what you're looking at and what the region has, so that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm fine with keeping it all in. That's easy.
Well, yeah, I would say that, I mean, it'd be great to be able to work off of, as we're reading as a group offline, we're reading these the versions with notes, you know.
Yeah.
That
was just, I
that
thought
reflect a bit.
I thought that's what I had sent out, but it didn't come through that way, unfortunately.
Any other concerns about this policy at the moment? If not, I would suggest that we table this till our next meeting. Liz?
I just had one, I just noticed one thing and I don't know. It says, what page? I'm sorry, I can't even figure out what page I'm looking at. There's just a part that says, it just refers to the superintendent of schools.
Yes.
Parts of this, which I imagine, as we're talking about Salisbury Central, should obviously be changed to the principal. No? Oh, no.
I get it. I get involved in these. I mean,
sorry.
So I work with the school, but I like to be involved in whatever we're doing with McKinney-Vento.
Got it. Sorry.
That's fine. No, it's a good question.
Any other questions or concerns at the moment? I would entertain a motion to table this till our next meeting. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Jackie, for a second. All those in favor of tabling discussion of this till our next meeting, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
David, you don't have to take action on these. You can just say you're moving it forward to a second read, and that's fine.
Okay. Don't have to have an actual vote.
No,
So I'm just trying to play by the rules.
it's okay.
You know me. You know me. Next is policy number 5123, promotion and acceleration and retention.
I just shared the version that has the strikeouts, the notes that we made.
That for some reason was in the folder, I think.
Well, it's because it's
Unless I popped
strikeouts
them.
as opposed to comments or notes. So maybe that's why.
Got it.
One thing I wasn't sure of is, I guess it's on the second page in italics where it says note, priority school districts are required to evaluate the reading level of students, et cetera. I don't know if that's something that is supposed to be part of the policy or it's just information for, I don't know. I didn't know if that was something that we needed to keep in the policy or not.
You're not a priority school district, so you don't have to keep that language.
We could take that out. Okay.
And I have a question. It says promotion, retention, and acceleration. I did not read anything about acceleration. Am I wrong?
It's in the middle. Promotion, within the policy, you
Yeah.
mean?
Yes.
Or at the title?
No, well, the title says acceleration. Nothing about acceleration policy is in the policy.
Ah,
Well, you do have a separate policy for acceleration.
Okay, so then maybe we should get acceleration out of the title.
Agree.
Because the acceleration part was for high school, Natalia. It's part of what's been stricken. So I think you can take out acceleration because you do have a separate policy for it and it doesn't really refer to it in any other place.
so we should take that out of the title then. All right.
And then I wasn't sure about that alternative language to consider at the end.
Is that something, I mean, I would assume that that's something that's already in place. Do we need to
It
define?
is, it's just up to you if you want that language to be, if you want the policy to be that specific.
Does it conflict with the system that we have in place? Does it describe something outside of what we're, the way in which we're operating now? Would be my question.
I don't think so. I mean, I think that's,
I thought it was a good conclusion to the policy.
Yeah, I think it's in keeping. I don't think it contradicts what we do.
Lisa, do you feel like it's superfluous or do you feel like it's just a further descriptor of what we're trying to accomplish?
Well, that, the, probably the most useful language is the decision not to, the district, where is it? I just read it. You know, that the decision to promote should be based on academic achievement and not based on age or any social reason not related to academic performance. That's probably a standard you want to uphold, and you want to make sure that that's something that everybody pays attention to. So I think it's fine to keep it. Currently, that is for sure the practice.
Got it. So it says alternative language, though, an alternate to what? Or is it in addition to? Is it in addition to what's here, or is it replacing something? Is it suggesting that we replace something that's higher, further up the pages here?
No,
Or
I
is it-
think it's just
it's just-
additional language.
It should say additional language to consider.
Okay,
Is some of the language in that is almost word for word based on the first paragraph at the top.
Yes, first paragraph. Yeah.
that's
Like
It
at the
is.
top, I think it's the fifth sentence, the decision to promote a student is almost identical.
Oh, you're right. It's,
I think it summarizes the whole policy because it also talks about the transitional programs and other programs that the district will provide. Maybe it is just alternative.
yeah, no, I think this is a kind of, I guess, more detailed description of what that first two, it's the first two paragraphs, really, right?
No, all the others even. Because you see two and then. No, and then.
no, you
fourth or
could
whatever,
take
yeah.
out, I think that the first one, couple of sentences, up to a student shall not be promoted based upon any age or other social reason not related to academic performance. You could probably strike that.
Mm-hmm.
And then include the district shall provide alternatives to promotion such as, but not limited to, transitional programs.
Mhm.
Because it obligates you to provide some, make sure that you provide support to students who aren't promoted for whatever reason.
Right.
But the first part of that paragraph, Kevin's right, is what's at the beginning. I didn't remember that. But if people need more time to read it, they can, you know, this is a first read, so you can think about that and decide what you want to do on the second read.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns about this right now? All right, so we'll table this till our next meeting. Next, first read is 5125, student records, the confidentiality FERPA policy. Sue, do we have concerns about this when we ran over? I don't remember having any. I thought it was pretty straightforward outside of changing the Salisbury. I thought it was pretty, we're kind of by statute. Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't see,
That's what I remember.
I don't
Yeah.
see any notes.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. No, I didn't make any notes on this one.
Yeah, I don't remember us. So any questions or concerns about student records confidentiality? Hearing none, we'll table this till our next meeting. And then the last policy for our first read is 5131.7, weapons and dangerous instruments. I know we did have some thoughts about this, right?
Yeah, let me,
Yes, we did.
We talked about defining or not defining the weapons,
Right.
and then we ended up just leaving both.
yeah, we decided to take out. Yeah, actually, the version that you guys got. wait a sec.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't have that part that we took out,
It
right?
already has the changes. I think I already made it.
It was like, there was some redundancy and some further description of, it was like a laundry list of things that could be considered. And we felt the definition spoke more to the intent of what you were doing with that object. And that's what we're trying to get at, rather than whether it's a paper clip or a pocket knife. You know what I mean?
Right, it listed several weapons, but then we
Yeah.
were concerned that someone would somehow say, but it wasn't a
It
weapon
wasn't
on
one of
this
those.
list.
Yeah, it was just a
Right.
paper.
So we made it, now it says a dangerous weapon is any weapon, device.
It's
instrument, or-
it's much broader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of like if you're using an object with the intent for it to be a deadly weapon, it's a deadly weapon. As opposed to it's got to fall under a category. Are there any concerns or questions about this policy at the moment? Hearing none.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
And to that point then about using anything as a weapon, even if it wasn't designed as such, in the second paragraph, the second paragraph, last sentence, a deadly weapon is any instrument in an article specifically designed for. Should the and that follows that be converted to an or?
Maybe and or.
Because the and is just a bit prohibitive.
Because it's got to be both, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the scissors weren't designed to be a deadly weapon, but they certainly could be used as a deadly weapon.
Right. I would
I
say
think that's a good catch.
and or, yeah.
And or presently capable of. Yeah, I agree. It's a good catch.
Also, the last sentence, to comply with federal law, any finding of an excess shall be reduced to in writing, I think. That's what you mean.
Where are you, Natalia?
This, before the last paragraph, the board shall consider up, one sentence up, and it says to comply with federal law, any finding of an exception shall be reduced to in writing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Be reduced, shall be reduced in writing.
Shall be reduced in writing?
I think so, right? Because they're saying that we can modify the period of expulsion, and then.
Oh, shall be reduced. I say that, yes. To
Yeah.
comply with any
Right.
finding, an exception. I got it.
Something missing. Any exception? Yeah, to reduce to in writing. We have to, in writing, tell them how much we reduce the period.
Right. Any other notes or concerns? Hearing none, I will suggest we table this again till our next meeting. And moving on. Yeah. Oh, is that somebody? Is that Barrett? No. Moving on to our administrative reports, Ms. Major. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sue and Lisa and Steph for guiding us through that. Stephanie?
I have buried my report under the policies. Oh, here it is.
Me too.
All right, so we talked a little bit before with Barrett's question about the staffing, but now I will a little more formally say that, yes, so we talked before at budget time about wanting to take the position that was middle school math and make it the STEAM position. So for next year, that position will be math and science enrichment, what we call MAIS, for grades 1 through 5, math intervention, and also a section of grade 5 math, as I was talking about, understanding that's a big class and wanting to split them for some of the core subjects, and leadership of the STEM PLC that we have. Then I foresee the position flexes as different years bring different needs. You know, we might need more intervention at a given time. We might need more enrichment at a given time. So I think Kat is perfect for this position. She is enrolled in a program right now for STEAM. She is a flexible thinker and she is engaging. And I think that, you know, she says that math and science are more of her passion areas. So this will give her time to focus on her passion areas. And I think she'll just be the right personality for what we need, and has the other benefit will be she's just taught these 4th graders. So to the section of 5th grade that she gets, you know, there'll be some looping there, which will be useful. So that's exciting news. And that does open up one more position for us. But as I said, I'm not that worried about it because we had a good pool and we can use the same pool. The bad news there is that the cafeteria manager, who we thought was staying till the end of the school year, has had to end sooner than we thought. So we are without a cafeteria manager. Some of our other staff is working to step up to try to fill the void, but I've just been asking everybody to be flexible and forgiving and patient. At this time, we haven't changed the menu, but we understand that we might have to simplify things so that they can get through the rest of the school year. We have the positions posted, and we're also going to try to explore some, you know, creative alternatives, because this continues to be an issue to fill those roles. Let's see, and we already talked about the other positions that we have to fill. So back towards the top then, Smarter Balance and NGSS begins next week. We have schedules made that, you know, they take their tests for less than 90 minutes a day, for lower grades, even less really than 45 minutes a day. There's always a movement break after, then there's classes, but we have started to plan for some activities to kind of give them some other sort of bonus during those times. There's team building for some of the grades. There's Zumba for some of the grades. There's just some different things that will break up those, you know, that stretch. And it does feel, I will admit, I think it feels like a long testing stretch, because we have those assessments and then our FastBridge window opens, and they kind of open over top of each other. And that's just kind of the way that it falls. So we're going to be thoughtful of that and just kind of plan as we can best around it and keep it manageable in short spurts. Student-led conferences were great. It was so energizing because I felt like parents in particular were so happy to be back in the building, to be walking through the real hall to their classroom, to be stopping at the student leadership auction, to be chatting. The vibe was great. And the students were very excited. They were all day had been talking, you know, anytime that I ran into any of them about, you know, they were getting ready for their conference, or what time was their conference, or could I come to their conference? Could they practice? You know, so they had a lot of enthusiasm for it, which was great. Let's see. What else do I want to mention? We are actually wrapping up, it feels like in some ways, our professional development, because we had our last regional day. And I'm sure Scott and Jill talked about that in their report, but I just wanted to mention that on that regional day, one of the important takeaways for me was there's a new regional math PLC. And I asked that everyone in our school who teaches math, whether you're just the classroom teacher who teaches it, or the math interventionist, or a middle school math, you know, specialist, go to the workshop. And I went myself, and it was just so well done. It was run by our regional math coaches. They made the concept of fluency easy to understand, even for those of us, like I am not a math expert. I came from an English background. But then we were able to write and rewrite our own definition of mathematical fluency based on new information that kept coming. And so we have defined it as mathematical fluency means having a conceptual understanding, allowing you to select strategies to solve problems with flexibility, accuracy, and efficiency. And it was just really fun to come to sort of that as a group of Salisbury Central School based on the workshop. So I can plan to continue going to the PLC, and others are welcome to join. I will certainly encourage some teachers if they haven't already signed up, but I bet they have. And then we have our last regular professional learning day, and then we'll have our June ones that we talked about, but is May 11th. And we have a plan for that where we kind of are flip-flopping two major activities. We have a diversity, equity, inclusion case studies that a group will be doing. The other group will be doing a concept map where we try to put together our evaluation document, the CPP, with habits of mind, with portrait of a graduate. The administrators have practiced this concept mapping together. So we're going to do it with the staff, but we're also going to add like a 3D component so that it feels fun. And then the groups will swap. So everybody will get time to do both things. And then it's exciting. I won't list them because you can read them, but just to have activities listed again feels so good compared to where we were at this time, certainly the last 2 years, but to be having a calendar and dates to save is exciting. So I'll take questions about anything.
Anybody? Thank you very much, Steph.
You're welcome.
Ms. Carter. You're muted.
So I'm sorry, I feel like I wrote this report 100 years ago because of the break. I haven't looked today, but I think we maybe only had one case of COVID reported coming back from the break. Let me just look here real quick on my spreadsheet. No, actually we had more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have had some people coming back with COVID, but as you saw, I did send a letter out to all of the families in the region asking them to please test their children and not to send anybody to school sick, because I don't know if you've been watching the state numbers, but they have been creeping up. And so I'm hoping that we have 1,300 students and 400 plus teachers. So for us to verify all of those test results would have been a living, breathing nightmare. But I'm hoping that people did, do the right thing and do a rapid test before they came back to school. And apparently they have, because we do have some cases that were reported today. But I will say that prior to the break, we had that outbreak in North Canaan, and we came together with the Department of Health and our medical advisor and Dr. Roy and the school nurse over there. And I think letting parents know right away that we had several cases and that we were concerned and we wanted people to come to school with masks and to keep students at home who weren't feeling well really helped stem the tide there, because by the time we left, that we were getting maybe 1 or 2 odd cases from North Canaan, but those numbers had really fallen off. So I just want to thank parents for continuing to be families, and to staff, we're continuing to be mindful of that. And to note, and just to let you all know that it definitely is out, the virus definitely is out and about in the state. We expect this week that we'll probably be ready to make a decision or be very close to making a decision about the principal, chair, and center school. We have some strong candidates there and a very strong committee. So I'm excited about that. We are in the midst of the assistant superintendent search. We've developed a profile of what we think we want for the position. It's been posted. I understand that we've had quite robust interest in the position, so we should be ready to interview starting later in May. And I will keep you updated on that. The legislative update, this is not on my list, but my understanding is that the House has approved an extension of having meetings online. And we're hoping that the Senate will vote this week. They're really putting pressure on the Senate to vote this week, and that there would be an extension of being able to do these meetings via Zoom or Google Meet, whatever your board's preference is, through the month of June. So I will keep you all posted. We've been working with Maria Horn to keep us alerted if anything happens this week, so I can let everybody know as soon as possible. As far as the rest of the legislative update, the one that we are most interested in is the House Bill 5283, which deals with the funding of the distribution of educational cost sharing. A lot of the bill focuses on charter schools, but it also has and other educational programming. The other educational programming would be agricultural education, and the bill would stipulate a per pupil funding of about $5,200 as the bill is currently proposed, that would extend in perpetuity. So we would not have to worry year by year what we would be receiving in funding to support that program. And because that funding is very important to the program, a lot of us, Dave Moran did an outstanding job of getting us organized, leading the charge, and we all have written to the legislature. We have showed up to testify, and we're keeping track of that one. And then, of course, I'm happy to answer questions, although we haven't really received a lot of news on updates in terms of what's going on with the current bills. Then the big news is the summer programming, and really trying to give as much public recognition as possible to Berkshire Taconic Foundation, because without them, we would not have a regional summer school program. When we met with them in January, they came to us because they had done a ton of research on wanting to provide more for middle school students. And so they came to propose this, flying cloud, wanting us to combine with ag ed, provide some art, and pilot a program for middle school students. And I said, well, I'm not sure we can do this because we don't have money for transportation, and that's the only way we're going to get any participation. And they said, how much do you need? And we drew up a proposal and gave them a number, and they have decided to do it. So we can do K-8 summer school for 3 weeks at North Canaan, 4 weeks for K-5, and then the last week, will be at this pilot for the middle school, which will be Flying Cloud Institute, the Ag Ed program, Art, and Ann McNeil will do a combination of different athletic choices, and they'll provide transportation for all of it. If the summer school, the middle school, and the middle school that last week, that more enrichment oriented program will be held at the high school. If it is a success, we'll expand it to more than 1 week for next summer. So we're going to start to really publicize that now, and we really hope that we get a lot of middle school participation, because I think it's going to be great. Pat Vaneke is going to do the art in the art studio. Dave Moran's got his team. I think they're going to do something with solar powered, making a solar powered car. I mean, that's really cool stuff. So, so I hope people show up for it. I do want to just remind people that report on the 2020-2021 condition of education report, that is from last year. So some of the observations about the quality of educational programming didn't apply to our K-8 schools because we were in school, and I feel like we did a pretty good job of, making our way through the COVID year, the worst COVID year last year. Although I do think the data about the fact that the enrollment is declining throughout the state is something that we should all be paying attention to. And as we are declining throughout the state, at the same time, our population is becoming more diverse. And particular with students whose primary language is not English. And we are experiencing that in the region. We're keeping a very close eye on that, making sure that those students and families receive support. And we will be making sure that we make any adjustments to staffing and budget in the future if in fact that trend continues. And And then the last thing is that I am really starting to work in earnest on the expansion of educational programming throughout the region. Several schools, elementary schools, have expressed an interest in having something very similar to SOAR at their schools. So I'm helping them figure out how to do that, establish their own 501c3, and be able to have some funding that is sort of budget proof, that will provide meaningful programming for students after school. And that's very exciting to be working on that. And then also starting to work in earnest on some future vision for the high school. I've got a committee that I'm going to start to put together. And now that I'm hoping we have greater access to visit schools and get together as a group, we can start more work in that area. So that's my story, and I will take any questions.
Anyone? Hearing nothing. I had something for you and it went completely out of my head, Lisa. So I'll circle back.
Okay.
Any other questions for the superintendent? Then we will speak with our assistant superintendent, Mr. Scott Fellows. What's happening?
Hi, everybody. Thanks. I'll cover a couple of things that I know Jill would want to talk about, and one that I have, and then life will be good. So under curriculum, we have been sort of teasing you with a new curriculum for social studies coming soon. We actually now own the curriculum for social studies, grades K through 4. The place where we got that, the district from whom we got that curriculum is in the process of working on grades 5 through 8. Jill and I are actually going to that town to observe some classes, particularly kindergarten classes, implementing that new curriculum, which should be very fun. And part of the new curriculum includes some diversity and equity inclusion materials. And one of the newest pieces that we were told was there are now 2 versions of some of the projects. One that is really full steam ahead DEI, and one that brings it back just a little bit, depending upon the needs of the community and the comfort level of the teachers in approaching that, whether they've had some DEI training or not. So the social studies curriculum is going to be rolled out starting with grade K, and then we'll roll it forward a year at a time. And I think, Lisa, we've talked about maybe rolling out 5 in the year that we roll out 3 as things, as we get going. But right now, 5 is still being developed. So totally not ready for that yet. We've been doing a ton of hiring, as Stephanie can attest, that we're trying to build in 30-minute initial interviews and then hour teaching interviews. And we have found that the teaching interviews are giving us a really good look at what those candidates look like in front of a group of students. So we're hoping to have everything taken care of, I'm going to knock on wood now, before the end of the school year, while we still have students in the buildings and we can have those teaching interviews go on. And then the last thing is we spent 2 days with Amy Tepper, and you might recall she's our consultant, and we don't like to call her a consultant on teacher evaluation, but rather on just teacher performance. So she worked with our elementary school principals in that seems like a decade ago, where we were in Kent and went and observed a number of classes and then had great conversation about what we were seeing in those classes. The first round were primarily math classes, and they talked about, the conversation afterwards was about planning, and it was purposefully about planning because it's the one piece of that rubric that we really hadn't talked about much with teachers. We think it's very, very important. And then we met with the high school department chairs and administration the following day. And rather than doing the pure collegial calibrations, we were looking at what are the needs of our students and what are the needs of our teachers in order to meet the needs of our students. So it turned into a slightly different activity, but gave us some very good information going forward that will help with our planning of professional learning. And that having been said, I'll take any questions that people might have.
Scott, I have a question. Yes,
Mhm.
you said that you're going to observe that social science new curriculum at the school. I'm just curious, which school or school district is that?
That's a really good question, Natalia, and I don't know if I can tell you that. Lisa,
Okay.
thoughts? I'm not sure. We haven't paid
Got
for
it.
it
Okay.
yet, but we're going there, and it turns out that it's actually a very, very good question that you ask. It turns out that one of the individuals who's writing the curriculum is also working on a dissertation, and her dissertation is on the implementation of this curriculum. So she's using us as, I probably have just screwed up her whole dissertation process. She's using us as her site.
Case study.
And so that we can, so she's giving us all of the professional learning materials and access to everything, because she wants to follow us through that implementation process. And as soon as I know if we can tell you the name of the town, we'll tell you the name of the town.
I
You
can
could,
tell you
But
they
you
have,
could tell us, but you'd have to kill us, Scott.
I could tell you, but I might have to kill you.
Yeah.
I can't say
That's
that on
right.
TV.
No, I'm just okay. But is it like it's like you have to like travel far, or it's
No,
within
no.
Connecticut?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you consider far. So they're about they're
Not
about
out
an
of
hour.
state. I mean, not out of state.
no,
Yeah,
it's
no,
not,
they're
it's
in
in
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Totally in Connecticut. Yeah, it's
Got it.
probably an hour's drive for Jill and I to go down, and we may be taking one teacher with us, but really it is about we don't want to disrupt a kindergarten class with 9 people all there observing the social studies
That's
class.
cool.
So Jill and I are going to go down and take the first look, but they have been very accommodating, that if we want to send other teachers down, we can do that. They'll send some of their teachers up to talk with our teachers. So they're being very, very accommodating to our implementation of that curriculum.
It's
Interesting. Oh, well,
outstanding.
exciting.
It's outstanding curriculum, and this curriculum writer she's amazing. I worked with her when I was the assistant superintendent, and that's just her job, that she's just worried about curriculum, and she's quite good. And that curriculum's been in place now. I think this is year 5, correct, Scott?
I think so,
And-
because they finished K4.
Yeah.
So yeah, yep.
So it's very well written. It's quite interdisciplinary. I think it's going to be great.
I think, Lisa, that interdisciplinary is really important. In fact, they call it a humanities curriculum, not really a social studies curriculum. So there is a very tight interweaving of the social studies standards and the ELA standards. And with specific books that are tied to specific books that one would read in an ELA class that are tied to the topics from the social studies class. So that's what Jill and I really want to see, is how that piece is also being implemented.
Yeah, that's really good, exciting. Okay, all right. Well, good luck.
Hopefully.
Thank
you.
One quick
Okay,
question.
Barrett.
Sure, Barrett.
You mentioned you're doing a lot of recruiting, and Lisa as well. I know that happens every year. A lot of schools, a lot of positions. Have you noticed, like Lisa, maybe in the last 10 years, is it getting harder to hire teachers in this region, or is it about the same? And I ask that because we're running into population issues going down and things like that. Is it getting harder?
It depends on the discipline. Last year was, I think, quite discouraging. I think COVID had a lot to do with that. This year is much more encouraging, where we have typically experienced robust interest, which is, and Scott, please correct me if I'm wrong, is in the K5 range, the self-contained classroom. But the specialties, math, science continues to be a very much of an uphill battle in the state, but especially for us, it seems. And I don't know that it's necessarily compensation related, although there are some districts who are using things like signing bonuses, and their pay scales, certainly in the southern part of the state, the pay scales are a little bit more rich than ours are. But I also think it's the challenges of housing. It's hard to attract young new teachers who aren't from here because of the opportunities to go out and meet other people. So those challenges remain the same, and with we have those shortages, they're even compounded. So we really kind of grit our teeth when we lose people in those shortage areas.
Do regions, like for example, ever establish any direct relationships with schools that put out a lot of teachers to kind of create a pipeline and to make sure they know to look to us when they're starting their careers?
Scott, Scott and Jill have done,
Yes.
I started some of that work, but Scott and Jill have really done a great job of continuing that. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. We're working right now with a group called Teach America, Teach something. I can't remember the second part of it, but it is a group that is sort of recruiting from underrepresented populations and placing, well, there are two programs. There's another one at CREC where they're placing teachers into classrooms as their student teaching experience, so that we agree that we're going to help them along with becoming a good teacher. And we've sort of continued to work with those groups. I would say too, Lisa, to your point about the shortage areas and then the other areas, Jill and I both commented this morning, and actually Gail, our administrative assistant, noticed for the last several days, we've been getting a lot of applications in. So something's happening things seem to be loosening up in the last few days. Like I have 4 right here that include a kindergarten position, which we didn't have very many kindergarten applicants, but now we've got 3. So I think things are loosening up and people are now looking for positions, and some of the kids are graduating from college. So we're getting those applications as well. But we are really interested in the CREC program and the TEACH program, both because they're going to get us on the map there, I guess is the best way to say it, right? Like we need people to know that this region exists. And anywhere you go, if you ask people, like, do you know where Region 1 is? They have absolutely no idea. I mean, I lived in Watertown and interviewed for Region 1 and had no idea where Region 1 was. And it's, 40 minutes down Route 63. So we're trying to make those outreaches to the colleges, because that was a long way to say we're making those outreaches to the colleges.
Well, and you've also have or are planning to attend some job fairs, correct? And
Yes.
And then there's been outreach to the state university system as well. So
Yes.
we're doing the best we can to make those connections and plead our case that it's very difficult for us out here. But it's very exciting to be here, and there are a lot of benefits to coming to teach here, even if it's real estate wise a little bit challenging.
And I would say, Lisa, again, to hiring Taylor earlier this evening, we have a lot of former graduates or graduates of the high school that are applying for positions all over. An individual who is applying now, having gone off for a significant period of time, but then deciding like this is really a good place to be. And so we're having that group of people now also come to us. So, they go off and realize that there's a big world out there, but come back and say like, I like this little piece of the world.
Yeah. Any other questions for Scott? Thank you, Dr. Fellows.
Thank you, everyone.
I remember what I wanted to ask, and it's related to what Lisa said, is that I just want to take a quick temperature of everybody. If we were allowed to continue to meet virtually, is that to everyone's liking? Or would that be your first choice moving forward? Just out of curiosity.
Did I understand it to be that it would just be for May and June?
Yeah, that's what Lisa's saying. I'm just, if
No, I was just making sure that you're not like making a decision for eternity.
No, this is completely not unofficial temperature taking. I personally find it a much more efficient way to get things done. It makes it easier on everybody, especially those that have to go to 7 or 8 meetings a month. But, unless somebody is like opposed, like, no, we have to be back in the room. I would say that if we are allowed to, we should continue that as long as they'll allow us to. But sorry, I didn't hear you, Liz. Oh, you're talking to someone else. Oh, is that Freddie distracting you again? Tell Theo I'm sorry. I didn't send him home with the hot dog. Vincent ate them now. All right. Yeah, good, Jack.
Hey, Dave, I just worry that we're losing the public when we
Yeah.
do them online. And, you know, several people have commented that, okay, well, we took off the masks at all the schools and, you know, we made that optional, you know, why aren't the boards of ed now back where the public can come and, you know, listen and speak and know really what's going on? Because a lot of people have said that they have no idea what's going on at the board level unless they watch channel 6 or, you know, I mean, and that's.
So go to Vimeo and watch the case.
So I don't know. I just feel like we're losing that. We're losing the public's touch kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at least that's what's been conveyed to me.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else has heard from the town people.
All right. Well, let's see if it's an issue. Those higher up the food chain than us will tell us. All right, great. Any public comment on agenda items? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Don't forget that tonight at 7:30, if you are so inclined, there is a public hearing on our school budget and the town budget. And Sue, I know, sent us the link to the link earlier today. So
Can I ask a question? Is that only online or is that a town hall too? Do you know?
I think it's all virtual, but Sue?
All virtual? Do you know, Sue?
The last time I asked Joe about it, he said that they were going to try to provide space in town hall for people to watch it
Oh, okay.
virtually. But I don't know if they actually made arrangements for that or not.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the spring evening. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Great week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.